Well, welcome back to the 2024 Euroformula Open Championship, everybody. We arrive in Spain. We are here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia for round 7 of the series. 2 rounds remain, 6 races in total, and the championship still in the hands of one Brad Benavides. 377 points to the good. He's had a stellar season so far. 7 heaven after Austria. Currently sits 7 race wins with 6 second position, I should say. 3rd position standing at 3 and in arm's reach, in hand's reach of clinching the title. But there is still a gap that can be fought down by Francesco Simonazzi. He is only 64 points away from Brad Benavides, and all it takes is for things to go wrong, and in his case, for things to go right, for him to potentially change the face of this championship. But it looks like Barcelona is going to be the key round to decide the fate, and it could yet decipher as well where we're going to be placed heading in towards the end of play in this championship at Monza. The Temple of Speed, of course, is going to be the final soiree here for the 2024 campaign, and also the final soiree of the Dallara 320 chassis. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, Chris Stevens. And Chris, just 2 more rounds to go.
Yeah, really coming up to crunch time in the championship, where Brad Benavides has very much been owning things since day 1, really, in the championship. It was victory in the 2nd race of the season in the opening meeting at Portimao, and he has been off like a scorned cat ever since then, really. Occasionally, Francesco Simonazzi here has been nibbling at his heels, but great consistency from Benavides has really helped him out as well. But we do have some wildcard entries. First lap times just started to come through in this qualifying session, but we have some changes. We have our rookies from the last meeting at the Red Bull Ring. Jose Garfias and Ed Pearson are back, but also Ricardo Escotto, the USF Pro 2000 race winner. The Mexican driver, he's in the number 11 car for this weekend. We also have the return of Vladislav Ryabov as well in 37, the 18-year-old who made a wildcard entry at Paul Ricard last year, but has been, his racing experience has been few and far between as he looks for budget.
Yeah. And if we talk about Jose Garfias, for example, as well, obviously you alluded to him, obviously made his maiden appearance here in the championship back at Red Bull Ring, where, of course, he would take also a maiden pole in the process. But it wasn't to be after an issue at the start, getting off the line. The car just did not get in gear for him, and he had to retire from that first race. And unfortunately, also, the prospects of a maiden pole with a maiden victory just slipped away. Francesco Simonazzi already improving, as you might see. I was about to allude to the free practice times, incidentally. Jose Garfias on return, ushering in a 1:32.386, but it was all about Francesco Simonazzi for the first 2 private tests. Incidentally, the man on our screen nestling in a 1:32.922 in private test 1, a 1:33.263 in private test 2 to take the fastest time in those first 2 sessions, and already has ventured into the 1:32s once again. 1:32.509. Here comes Fernando Barrichello. Of course, he took his first race win of the season back at Austria as well in truly unreal circumstances, with the rain thundering down. He pulled off after losing the lead, after starting first place on the grid. He lost out to Brad Benavides, but didn't he just fight back, Chris?
That was remarkable stuff from Fernando Barrichello, and now a race winner in the Euroformula Open Championship, but there are plenty of other contenders who can take victories, Jose Garfias, of course, being one of them. And yeah, it's such a shame after a brilliant qualifying performance for him at the Red Bull Ring to be sort of pincered between 2 cars and damaging his front suspension through the first corner, which meant he barely got half a kilometre into his first Euroformula race, as Benavides goes top with a 1:31.949, currently half a second ahead of Francesco Simonazzi, but of course still early days in the running in this qualifying session. Oh, what a big swapper for the Floridian. Nicely saved.
Yeah, huge swapper indeed. That's the first time as well we ventured into the 1:31s this weekend. Of course, 1:32 was the fastest out of free practice, but we're now into the 1:31s. So no doubt we'll expect to see a lot more as time goes on. Incidentally as well, we saw the AIX livery making its way across of Brad Benavides. We've got to talk about Charlie Wirtz as well, securing a Formula 3 drive for next season with Trident Motorsport. Congratulations to him, of course, an alumni of the Euroformula Open Championship. We wish him all the very best for his next frontier, next chapter in racing. Here comes the 99 of Jose Garfias coming up towards the line as well, going second fastest, just behind Brad.
If we're going to talk about, see that replay from Brad Benavides, yeah, if we're going to talk about Charlie Verts, we'll also talk about Liam Lawson, reunited with Yuki Tsunoda.
Two Euroformula graduates.
Yeah, whatever they're calling that team now for 2025. So another former Euroformula driver on the grid with Jack Doohan as well.
Yeah, also all the big reveals coming out also in the Euroformula Open paddock with the 324 very soon coming. Of course, there's been a lot of hype around the new Dallara chassis and finding time that's over 2 seconds faster than the current 320 that we're watching out on track. And some of these cars will, of course, be converted to the new 324 style with many new chassis as well coming in. So an exciting time for the championship. And I'm sure we'll be seeing new teams, new drivers coming in and joining the fight. Obviously, it's been a busy few years. But it's great to see as well the alumni, the drivers, making their way through the Euroformula system and then heading in towards F3, some of them F2 as well. Of course, Ollie Goethe recently making his Formula 2 debut back at Baku.
Lasted even less time than Garfias' Euroformula debut.
It was a tricky start, I'll give you that.
It was difficult, yes.
Not ideal, but he was okay, which was good, and obviously it gave him a taster behind the wheel of the Dallara chassis in F2, which it certainly has proven to be the case that many drivers that perhaps have not necessarily had fortune in the past, they've come into the Euroformula and had experience in the Dallara chassis, and it's kind of given them a new lease of life as drivers, and it's ideal preparation then for the step up into F3.
I think it's helped when you have teams like Motorpark who really know how to extract performance out of a driver. The treatment of some young drivers in some series and by some teams is quite shocking, and so sometimes you wonder how they ever manage to find success like that, and they often don't. And then you get a team like Motorpark that just nurtures drivers and manages to transform them into champions, and that is how they manage to get results out of them. Now another big swapper here, this time for Riccardo Scotto. So he's in the car that normally driven by Levente Ravesh, but Motorpark have switched his focus over to the GT3 program for next year, so he won't be doing these final two meetings of the season in Euroformula as he preps for next year.
Yeah, of course, Levente Ravesh has already been hard at work with the Motorpark team, and we'll look forward to seeing him in action very soon. Brad Benavides just getting a recheck as well with his team. He'll be looking to take yet another pole position this campaign. Obviously, remember, in bid for the championship, as we now watch the 11 of Riccardo Escotto heading through the final sector, just in behind Fernando Barrichello. Incidentally, more news in the Barrichello camp, and we could yet be seeing his father, Rubens, racing in the GT Open in the near future. Of course, he's been out testing out here on circuit, so we could have a double Barrichello weekend at Monza. Stay tuned.
All you tease, George. You really know how to whet the appetite, don't you? So, fresh Pirellis going on the BVM Racing car of Francesco Simonazzi. A sticker set of Pirellis, which are, I'm sure, going to be needed. I don't think they're lasting too long around this track. So many long, high-speed corners. It just murders the front left tyre, in particular. Not great on any of the four corners, really, as we see Vladislav Ryabov here back in the car.
Marking a lengthy absence, or with a return here to the Euroformula Open, and already said that it's going to be a challenge. He's ahead of two drivers, though, at the moment. Currently sat fifth fastest in our timing screen, 132.268 against his name, and only just over 0.3 away off the top. Relatively close gaps, 22 thousandths between Garfias and Benavides at the moment, and incidentally, Garfias holding the fastest pace in the speed trap, currently standing at 238.9, and still carries the purple first sector as well. So I would definitely not counteract an opportunity here for Garfias at this stage. We now watch the drivers head through the first sector. Edward Pearson, good to see him back as well. Had a very promising start at Austria, just setting the groundwork for a potential return next season. Many drivers obviously looking to secure seats for next year's campaign, and it's a great opportunity for them to get some testing in race trim, essentially, Chris, just to give them that perfect springboard.
Yeah, and they're both planning to be part of the championship next year as well, I believe. So it is good preparation for next year, as Ryabov there was wrestling the car through the first corner. Currently, it is just 22 thousandths of a second between our top two, Brad Benavides and Jose Garfias. And then about a quarter of a second to Francesco Simonazzi in third, at Pearson fourth, 3/10 back, Ryabov not too far back from them as well, and then a bit of a gap back to Barrichello and Scotto. And the three drivers in the rookie class for this weekend. So Fernando Barrichello's got a bit of company there.
Yeah, definitely does. Obviously, it's far from over just yet. 7 minutes and 20 to go. And Vladislav Ryabov heading back on track, as is, I'm sure, many of the drivers that came in for a rethink, just to get set for the final runs here in qualifying ahead of another treble race weekend here at Barcelona. Of course, regularly featured as the grand finale on the calendar. There's Rubens Barrichello, just sat there, just giving his son, obviously, some words of wisdom through the course of the weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing how Fernando goes after winning back at Austria. Obviously, that will do wonders for his confidence, where, you know, things haven't necessarily gone his way through the first course of the season, but it's all about learning, and that's exactly what he's done. Of course, he's raced in the Brazilian F4 Championship, and now moving into Dallara machinery here at the Euroformula Open, and looking to try and find his very best once more here at Barcelona. The cars now, though, crossing the line, looking to usher in their new lap times. 6 minutes and 30 on the clock. Let's see who's got it, Chris.
So this is Ryabov making his way into the first corner. So it's the white wing-tipped car for Ryabov this weekend. I spend every week trying to help people identify which car it is, and then they keep replacing the drivers in them. So yeah, it's the white wing-tips for Ryabov. He makes his way through turn 4, and it's a build lap, this one, because 29.5 in the first sector is not particularly rapid. So we will wait to see them on the next lap around, I think.
Climbing uphill now. Obviously, this is a segment of circuit where things can get a little unstuck for you. Obviously, you need to be wary of the curbs on the inside as well. Some of them are slightly raised, so they can unsettle the car. And obviously, you need to try and carry the speed as much as possible through Kampsa, but you do have the danger of overextending into the gravel trap, and no such concerns here for Vladislav Ryabov, who's trying to find, obviously, renewed time and try and attack the cars above, including that of Edward Pearson and Francesco Simonazzi, who also in recent years has also partook in the FIA Formula 3 Championship, but back here as well for BVM under the banner of Giuseppe Mazzotti, who has been a long-term servant here for the Euroformula Open Championship, the car that is very familiar in its almost brawn-style livery, if you factor in the white and a little bit of green as well here and there. Bit of yellow, luminous yellow, I think we'll call it. It's coming up over the crest now is the number 11 of Ricardo Escotto in his first weekend of the season.
19-year-old from Mexico City. Made his car racing debut in the same place as our reigning champion Noel Leon. He's at NACAM F4 before coming over to Europe to compete in Spanish F4, and then back over stateside in USF Pro and a little bit of Indy NXT as well, where we have the likes of Bryce Aaron currently racing, as well as Euroformula alumnus. And so now the times are starting to come in through the sector times. Purple for Jose Garfias in the first sector. Personal best for Pearson, Ryabov and Barrichello as well. Here is the Mexican Garfias, our pole sitter at the Red Bull Ring. And he's making his way into the middle sector now, and he's found even more time in the middle sector now as well. Another driver who came through NACAM F4 as well in Formula Mexico. But moving over from the Formula Regionals, Benavides responding. He's taken back the fastest first sector by just under 200ths of a second. So Garfias through the final quarter, flat out through these last two corners in a single-seater like this. Heads up towards the timing line. This will go top. It's 1:31.485, but what's Benavides got in response?
First shot fired by Jose Garfias. Of course, remember, maiden pole last time out. Could yet go back-to-back this time around. A slight little lock-up there. We just saw a little bit of smoke and blaze from the front right tyre, but Benavides doing well to keep the car under control. Just over a tenth found in that second sector in itself. Looking to carry that speed as well, heading out of Bank Sambadel. Next up, the run-through Europe car, where he'll then meet the final corner at New Holland. Coming out of turn 14, what's the Floridian got? Could it be a fastest lap time to pivot himself to the top ahead of Jose Garfias? He'll come across the line and go fastest by nearly a whole 0.2 of a second. Purple in all three sectors. A dream lap, but there's still time left. 2 minutes and 40 remain.
And Pearson went third fastest while we were watching that Ryabov ahead of Simonazzi now as well. So it's all changing in these closing stages. But yeah, great lap from Benavides there. Of course, that would pick him up a bonus point as well if he were to claim pole position. Really chucked it into turn 4 there, didn't he? Was half expecting half the car to remain where it was. Such was the aggression turning into the corner. Here's Simonazzi now. Just put in a personal best. He goes back up to fourth fastest, sliding the car through turn 1 on this next lap as well. But he is almost half a second down on Benavides as it stands on the second row of the grid.
Looking to dig deep here, Francesco Simonazzi, the Italian stallion, second in the championship, trying to close up to Brad Benavides, but he has got certainly a lot on his plate to try and, well, if he wants to try and take this championship lead, there's still plenty in the offing. There's Fernando Barrichello coming in towards turn 1, currently 6th fastest on our screens. 1:32.071 was his last registered flying lap, but he's now in the first sector and has registered a personal improvement. Only 73 thousandths off the top time set by Brad Benavides. So let's see what Simonazzi can muster out of that first sector. Of course, Barrichello just waiting to come through the first time transponder. It's just under 3.5 tenths for Simonazzi as it stands, as he comes out of Lakea Bend. He's got the run up through Bank Sambadel. Just looking to advance his charge out to P4. He's got Edward Pearson just in front of him here. This could very well take him higher than Edward Pearson, maybe challenge Jose Garfias heading into the final sector. Needs to dig deep, needs to try and extract everything coming out of turn 14. He'll take the run up towards the line. Where is the Italian going to be placed this time? No, losing time in that final sector. That was crucial.
So starting the final flying laps now. This is Ryabov going across the timing line. And what was this lap for him? It was a personal best in the middle sector, but not an improvement overall. So still on a 32.0 is the 18-year-old. Now on his, well, it looks like he's backed out of that one actually. So it will be 5th at best. Fastest of the rookie runners, that should be said, in 5th position overall ahead of Barrichello and Scotto.
Yeah, so certainly a great effort. Checkered flag now out, and as it stands, it's Brad Benavides who's going to look to notch yet another pole position. He'll be his 3rd pole position.
Oh, spin.
Should it remain like this, and that is the 11 belonging to Riccardo Ascotto. Just come out ahead here as he rejoins the circuit in reverse, just in front of Brad Benavides. And gets it stopped and running again. Obviously, the car not shutting down. Benavides, unperturbed, goes on by. But the checkered flag is out. And if nothing changes, it will, of course, be Brad Benavides, your pole sitter. Let's take a look at the replay again, Chris.
Yeah, just losing the back end coming through turn 12, through the gravel. And I mean, obviously, he doesn't want to get it beached. But also, don't roll back across the circuit like that, please. That's scary stuff. But luckily, it was the end of the session, and I don't think anyone was pushing out there necessarily. But it's pole position for Brad Benavides once again in the Euroformula Open Championship. That's his 3rd one of the season, is it not? Yes. So great job for the man who is trying to wrap up the championship this weekend, but there are quite a few drop score calculations that have to take place before we can be certain of that. but nonetheless, he still comes here with quite a significant points advantage. And another great qualifying for Jose Garfias on the front row of the grid. Pearson in third, Simonazzi in fourth.
Yeah, let's take you through the top three. Edward Pearson, of course, a great effort again. He was third, incidentally, coming out of Red Bull Ring, where he qualified on that occasion. It was a good start for the rookies, incidentally, with Jose Garfias finishing second. Looking to follow up, obviously, this time out of Austria with a better performance this time. Brad Benavides, though, your pole sitter off the back of that stellar qualifying session here at Barcelona, and he's with Alfredo.
Brad Benavides, pole position. It's the third of the season, right?
Yes, exactly. This is the third pole position of the season. I would have liked it to have been more at this stage of the season, but it's all right. I like the number 3, especially here for being sort of my home track, because I live just 2 hours south of here. So happy with it. Yeah, happy.
Your European home track, let's say. Yeah. How was it, the session?
Well, it was a bit weird because the balance shifted quite a bit from the first run to the second. I had a lot more oversteer in the second run, both with new tires, obviously. But yeah, I had a lot more oversteer. The peak of the tire was literally just on the first lap. The second lap, I struggled a lot with the rears, but fortunately, I was able to put it somewhat together in the first push, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a good start later this evening.
Yeah, and I understand there are some family and friends coming from overseas.
Well, actually, some overseas and some from here, local, because either they're from America or South America, but they're living here. So yeah.
You will be well supported.
Exactly. Cheers. Thank you.
All the best.
So there we have it, Brad Benavides, and he will be on pole position ahead of the race this afternoon. Jose Garfias, second place. Edward Pearson qualifying third. Francesco Simonazzi in fourth. Vladislav Ryabov in fifth place. Fernando Barrichello sixth. With Riccardo Escotto, we saw him run off earlier on, seventh place for the start of the race. Of course, we will be back with racing action later on this evening. 6:05 local time is when we get underway for race 1 action. Be sure to join us. We'll see you then. Goodbye.